Hello there, welcome to Mobile FM.
Here is the tale of Mmesoma the Orphan. Mmesoma was given birth to by a young nursing couple. After they had Mmesoma, they were very, very happy, such that they gave her the name Mmesoma. Mmesoma lost her parent shortly after, she was 3 in a ghastly motor accident and was forced to go live with the uncle. And the uncle had a very wicked wife who treated Mmesoma so badly, who will not even give her food, and had a very rude daughter who was always teasing Mmesoma, who was always taunting her. Mmesoma was very, very unhappy in the house. And the uncle's daughter was really, really bad to her. So many times the daughter will frame her up, say a lot of things that were untrue about Mmesoma. Mmesoma was the only one who was doing the house chores, doing everything for them. Mmesoma was forced into the street to sell, to hawk granite, plantain, and whatever you call it. And the uncle could care less what happens to Mmesoma. The uncle left Mmesoma to, the ruins of his wife and daughter. Mmesoma was a very, very unhappy child, and she went on living with this family who will abuse her, who will speak badly about her parents, about the way they raised her, about the fact that they were poor, and a whole lot. Now, during school days, Mmesoma's sister, the daughter to the uncle, and the wicked woman will be sent to school, provided everything for. She goes to school very early, and she was very intelligent because she sleeps very early and she's able to read. The family will create enough time for her to study. Everything that she needed in school was given to her. But in the case of Mmesoma will be made to go and hawk things in the morning before going to school. Sometimes she will not be fed. And there was a very kind neighbor who was always looking out for her. The neighbor will call her sometimes, Mmesoma, come and take some food and eat before you go to school. And the neighbor kept looking out for Mmesoma the entire time, feeling pity for the girl, knowing that the girl was an orphan and the girl was so badly treated. The neighbor kept looking out for her. Most times, Mmesoma's sister, who happens to be the daughter to the uncle, will go out with friends. They had the best time together. They were connected to the high and mighty in the society. They will play together and everything. But in this period, Mmesoma would be hugging things on the street and selling whatever is sellable to ensure that there are funds in the house. Mmesoma would be the one responsible for all the house chores. She will do everything, and at the end of the day, the mother will come back and beat her up, and she was so badly treated. Mmesoma will always cry. Mmesoma was such an unhappy child. Like for the longest of time, Mmesoma was very, very unhappy. She was not cared for. And one day she decided to start selling for herself. She went to buy items and she was selling on the street. This time she was able to save some money. She was making lots of profit because, in fact, when they will send her to go and sell things. She will buy her own stuff and begin to hawk. She sells for herself while selling for the family. Now, Mmesoma has grown a lot bigger. She's able to make certain decisions for herself. She had finished her secondary school, and so she saved money. On one of those occasions when she was selling, she met a prince. The prince met her on the street and asked her, "Beautiful girl, what are you doing on the street?" Mmesoma said, "I'm trying to sell some items. Do you want to buy some items?" And the prince looked at Mmesoma. Being that Mmesoma was a beautiful girl, the prince smiled at Mmesoma and Mmesoma smiled back. And that day, the prince decided to buy the entire items, even though he never needed them. He wanted to help Mmesoma because he wanted Mmesoma to go back home early. Then the next day, the prince came to the same place and saw Mmesoma still selling. And he bought from Mmesoma and spoke to Mmesoma that he would want them to become friends. And Mmesoma was able to create time to meet with the prince, where they started getting to know each other. They started falling in love with each other, and things started going well. At this time, Mmesoma had managed to force herself into the university. This time she was grown up, she was able to make her decision, she was paying her own fee. She told the prince that she would go out and hawk things after school so she can save her next school fees. And the prince felt really pity for her, and the prince started giving her money. Told Mmesoma, do not worry about your fee. I will be paying your fee for you going forward. It happens that they were so happy, but each time Mmesoma's sister, the daughter to the uncle, sees them together, she gets really, really jealous. Because she felt like Mmesoma didn't deserve this kind of man. That for that kind of man, she is more deserving of such kind of man, and she feels really, really jealous. Now, she made many attempts to meet with the prince, and the prince will pay deaf ear. The prince was not even, paying any attention to her. Even though Mmesoma was a very kind girl who never said anything to the prince, but the prince discovered on time that Mmesoma's sisters got soft spot for him. Mmesoma's sister wants to snatch him away from Mmesoma, but the prince was head over heels with Mmesoma, wanted to be with Mmesoma, would want to eat, drink, see, sleep Mmesoma. Like he really, really loved the girl. And so every time Mmesoma's sister makes an attempt, the prince will not want it. And then Mmesoma's sister will feel really, really bad, rejected, felt really jealous of Mmesoma. How can she, an orphan, get the best, the prince that is every woman's dream in this town? And the prince then see me. The prince didn't see my friends who are very wealthy. And the prince chose an orphan, chose a very dirty orphan. Now, Mmesoma was a very intelligent girl, but the sister envied everything that Mmesoma had, everything that she did. The sister made so much effort to be with the prince, tried to say things about Mmesoma. The prince will not give the sister any attention. The prince went on loving Mmesoma. No matter what anybody said or did, the prince went on and on and on loving Mmesoma. And this was very, very sad. The prince was always going, to see Mmesoma, going to where Mmesoma was selling stuff, going to ensure that Mmesoma is safe, providing for Mmesoma, making sure that Mmesoma will not lack anything. And this will get the Mmesoma sister so jealous. Mmesoma sister will do everything that is within her power to ensure that she solves the reputation of Mmesoma before the prince. Because she wanted to own the prince. She wanted to be with the prince. She was jealous. She had fallen in love with the prince. But not really. The thing is that she feels that she deserves the prince more than Mmesoma. And that was her biggest problem. She would cry each time she sees Mmesoma with the prince. She would go to her mother and tell her mother tales about Mmesoma. There were times where she made the father, Mmesoma's uncle, to beat the living daylight out of Mmesoma because she went and told the father that she saw Mmesoma and the prince in a very compromising position. Now, that wasn't the case. It was the prince who asked Mmesoma on a date, and Mmesoma obliged him. And they were there, they were talking, and Mmesoma's sister saw them, and she was very jealous, and she couldn't bear it. She wanted to just ruin everything. She thought that, in fact, Mmesoma has taken the entire world from her. How can Mmesoma be deserving of the prince? Why will the prince not look of Mmesoma? Why does the prince not want to pay attention to her? Why does the prince not admire her? She does everything to make the prince even look at her, and the prince will never ever look at her. The prince was always with Mmesoma, supporting her through thick and thin. There were times where they treated Mmesoma so badly. The prince was there. The prince was there to comfort her. The prince was there to take care of her. Mmesoma started looking so beautiful. She was dressing so well. She was looking so responsible. She was even competing with the high and mighty in the society. So one day, Mmesoma sister, out of jealousy, went in search of people who can set Mmesoma up, and met some two boys and told them that she has got some money to pay them, and she was going to pay them handsomely if they would do a job for her. And the boys asked, "What sort of job do you want me to do for you?" And Mmesoma, he said, "I will want you to set Mmesoma up." And they did. Mmesoma's mother beat up Mmesoma, that is the uncle's wife, beat up Mmesoma, disgraced her, dragged her out of the house, threw her on the street, where in a place where they are all aware that Mmesoma had got nowhere to go. Mmesoma was devastated. She cried and she ran out of the street. She went to the next door neighbor, the woman who used to feed her. The woman was not around, and she was told that the woman had traveled for Christmas. And so Mmesoma didn't know what to do. She moved to the next city where she met her friend who encouraged, comforted, and accommodated her. Her friend was very happy to see her. The reception her friend gave her was very, very encouraging. Now, Mmesoma was very, very happy with her friend, and the prince came looking for Mmesoma and never found Mmesoma. The prince was running out of his mind. The prince didn't know what to do because he was very, very devastated that Mmesoma had disappeared to nowhere. When the prince would go and ask Mmesoma's sister about Mmesoma, the sister would tell the prince that Mmesoma ran away from home. And the sister kept going after the prince over and over again, trying to make moves, trying to make the prince fall in love with her. And one of those days, the prince agreed and took the sister on a date. Unfortunately, Mmesoma sighted them, and Mmesoma was very, very disappointed, knowing that the prince would have, the mind to go on a date with Mmesoma, because the sister knew the entire time, Mmesoma knew the entire time that the sister was after the prince. But unfortunately for Mmesoma, soon after that time, she fell pregnant, because while she was in love with the prince, they had some kind of affectionate time together. She wasn't even aware that she had fallen pregnant before she was thrown out of the house. But in her friend's place, she discovered she was pregnant. Her friend took care of her. Her friend encouraged her, and she kept selling on the street until she had her beautiful bouncing baby boy. Mmesoma was so happy. Mmesoma celebrated the birth of her son. This time, Mmesoma realized that she was no longer alone in this world. Mmesoma kept raising her son all by herself, and she was doing everything she could to fend for the boy, giving the boy everything that the boy would ever want. And Mmesoma went on and on and on. On one occasion, the prince was driving past when he sighted Mmesoma. And this time, he sighted Mmesoma with a baby. Now, when he sighted Mmesoma with that baby, he was really, really, really devastated, because he knew that Mmesoma was a virgin. and he was the first man who knew Mmesoma. And between the time that he knew Mmesoma and the time he had found Mmesoma again, he realized that Mmesoma is probably carrying his child. He went, he begged Mmesoma for forgiveness, and he got married to Mmesoma, and they celebrated, and the celebration was so great because the prince was a very, very wealthy prince, and he felt pity that Mesoma was out there on the street all alone trying to raise their son, and eventually he took Mesoma with him to the United States of America and said to Mesoma, "You have tried as an orphan. It's difficult to be in the world without anyone who cares for you. You are a beautiful lady and you deserve the very best out of life." And when they got to America, Mesoma had the second baby girl for the prince. And they went on with their life while the stepmother, the uncle's wife, sorry about that, and Mesoma's sister, that is the uncle's wife daughter, the uncle's daughter, they were back at home. They were feeling very, disappointed. They were sad. They were unhappy about the way they treated Mesoma, knowing that Mesoma is wealthy, really wealthy right now, having the best life. The uncle regretted not ever being there to support Mesoma at those times where Mesoma needed them the most. I hope you enjoyed the tale of Mesoma. Thank you.